Okay, welcome everybody. We have a quorum. We must have 11 in the room before we can kick off. So we do have that. So we will be starting. So apologies for those who have had to wait, but we're into it. So first up, we have apologies. So we have an apology from Greg Sayers for absence. We have apologies for lateness for Billy Brown, Al Filipina, Chris Fletcher, Mike Lee, Joe Bartley, Wayne Walker. We have apologies for early departure, depending on what time we finish, for Lotu, Honey and Chris Darby. And Morris and Sharon. PM. We'll be done by then. So that's all good. No other apologies. Someone like to move? Thanks, Richard. Thanks, Morris. Those in favour say aye. Against, carried. Online attendance, we have requests from Billy Brown, Julie Ferry, Al Filipina, Lotu for when she leaves and rejoins, Karen Leone, Daniel Newman, Angela Dalton, Joe Bartley, Wayne Walker and Chris Fletcher. So someone like to move that we approve those? Thanks, Desley. Second. I'll do that then. All those in favour say aye. And against, carried. And we will just bring them all on. While we do that, just a reminder in regards to declarations of interest. You don't have to declare that. It's obvious. No. Okay, so we'll move on. We've got enough in the room, and while they come on. So confirmation of the minutes. Minutes of the meeting of the 5th of June. Someone like to move? Thanks, Richard. Seconded, Chris Darby. Any discussion? All those in favour say aye. And against, carried. Just to obviously allow everyone to know that we've got electronic meeting attendance protocols in place and you observe them. So for those online, as you come on, just make sure that you are in a secure place. Not driving, and turn your camera on when you are speaking. We've had no petitions. We've had 3 requests for public input. We declined a request from Equal Justice Project, Faculty of Law, University of Auckland, and it was declined understanding Order 7.7.3. They've already presented on the matter. It was in regards to fossil fuel, advertising of fossil fuels. And however, we have approved 2, and the first up is Garth and Ross McLeod for on easily improving Auckland's busways. So Garth or Ross, if you were here, come on up, grab a pew, and you've got to use those microphones. So it's the right-hand button. So all yours.
Okay, thank you for letting me talk today. So easily improving Auckland's busways. Auckland could double its busway capacity and make the system easier to use by introducing a proven method widely used overseas. The council can lead this change, moving away from a system that only works well at lower volumes. There are 2 main ways to operate a busway system. In the trunk and feeder model, buses from suburbs terminate at busway stations. Passengers must transfer to dedicated busway services, usually heading to the CBD. This is the pointer. Oh, I can't put it in the slide. You want to get a little point there? Yeah.
There you go. It's just the left and right.
Oh, pointer.
Oh, yeah. So these people here, as you say, they've come in on their trunk and their feeder, and to move on the busway, they have to change. They must transfer buses.
It'll stay on until you.
Okay. Thank you. In the direct service model, buses from suburbs travel through busway stations like normal busway stops. So here we have people coming from their suburb and then directly travelling onto the busway and there. So you get a one-seat ride from one end to the other. Direct service is more convenient. We've had rides like this before. I knew a nurse in 2011 who used to get a direct service bus with her 3-year-old from Otay Valley shops directly via the busway to Auckland City Hospital. It was a faster and easier trip because it avoided 2 transfers for them. The trunk and feeder works well at low volumes, but not high volumes. Multiple buses at one station means it takes minutes for passengers to disembark and board other buses, making it impossible for other buses to use the station. Over 5,000 people per hour, this becomes a problem, with direct services can transport over 15,000 per hour. Globally, direct services are the preferred model. The United Nations commended Gazong, China for achieving 26,900 passengers per hour per direction using direct services. This is well over double the capacity of Auckland's Harbour Bridge for cars. In Brisbane, nearly half of the busway users do not board on a busway trunk. This halves the delays due to boarding on the trips. Unfortunately, Auckland Transport has historically underestimated busway potential. In this 2015 report to the Auckland Council, AT claimed a busway could only achieve 6,000 people per hour in the middle column there. This is compared with internationally 26,900 being the numbers. World-renowned busway expert Walter Hook has reviewed the Northern Busway and recommended the direct service is the best approach. He estimated that 15,000 passengers per hour could be achieved. That level of performance could eliminate the need for a second harbour crossing, potentially saving New Zealand billions. How can you as council make sure the multi-billion decisions on this are correct? You can ensure that world expert views are scientifically considered and incorporated so the Auckland public benefit from them. If the current 8 Auckland Transport views are different, you can ensure Auckland Transport views are stringently analysed for the best outcomes as of now, regardless of past decisions. AT referred me to a report showing a busway in Colombia which achieved 45,000 passengers per hour. But this 2025 in March report from Auckland Transport shows a high-capacity busway of having less than 10,000. So they're underreporting by over 25% of what a busway capacity can do. Why is this happening? Because they're sticking to an outdated system we have rather than international standard we could have. So if you ask AT, they're probably going to tell you that trunk and feeder is better. But do they have the experts and data to back this up? A practical step next step would be for the council to host a workshop to explore the benefits of direct services on Auckland busways. This could be the turning point towards a more efficient and user-efficient public transport network. Waiting longer could have a financial impact on all New Zealanders. Finished, sorry.
Oh, no, that's right.
Yeah,
I thought you were confused about the bell.
yeah.
No, good timing. Okay, thank you very much. Questions? John, then Chris.
Yeah, you mean?
John,
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. Thanks very much. That was really interesting. And I just missed the start of it. In terms of the difference between direct service and the trunk and feeder, there's no. We're still dealing with the same number of units of actual buses, so we don't. There's no greater requirement for more buses with a direct service.
I mean, essentially, yes. It will partly depend on how the network is organised and arranged. But one actual analysis by Walter Hook actually showed that 13% less buses were needed because you're not having the buses stop at having to pull into stations which are busy.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So thanks, Mr. Chair. And I'd just like to sort of commend that notion of a workshop on this too, if that's the will of the chair in the meeting.
Okay, yep, we can look at that. Chris Darby.
Thanks for this information. Have you looked at the information that Auckland Transport and the analysis they undertook, the options analysis of this? It was some years ago when we landed on the current system. Have you looked at that, or have you written to Auckland Transport and asked for that work at all?
I have asked them for a number of questions, and all the work I've received, is of poor standard. I could say that it is very poor standard, number of standards.
So you have received the work then?
I haven't actually chased any work which isn't available, but I have looked at all the reports. Like one of the report was 128 pages, but it only says that a busway can do 140 buses per hour, whereas Gazong does 350. So the busway is physically capable of doing, the busway itself is physically capable of doing 350 buses an hour. So to report 140 is an extremely erroneous number.
Okay. All I'm stressing is that Auckland Transport would be really happy to reply to you if you ask those questions.
They have refused to answer my questions. They have refused to meet.
Well, okay. I'll make sure that there will be a reply, and if you can come through the chair and pose the question that you posed to Auckland Transport, and we'll follow it up. I'm sure there's just some kind of miscommunication.
I have spoken to the two board members. One of the board members was the consultation to Walter Hook. He went and spoke to someone else who said Walter Hook's figures were wrong. And they were not a bus rapid transit expert in any way. And Walter Hook has worked in the area for 30 years.
Okay, Richard.
Kia ora. Thanks for the presentation, and I catch the bus most days from the shore. I guess, have you looked at the before and afters of the new network? Because actually changing from what we used to do was a bunch of buses snaking their way all through communities and then down through the busway to the city, meant a lot more empty buses. It also meant not a lot of room in the city centre streets. We've got real issues with the amount of buses we can actually fit on the streets for getting off and on, but also I think it was increased bus capacity by about 40% because you're coming from smaller. Well, it's not like Guangzhou. You're coming from quite small suburbs with lack of density into the busway and back. So like half-empty bus filling up those buses and moving. Like, do you catch the bus on the shore every day?
I used to, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But have you looked at those before and afters? Because it was quite a massive step change when we changed to the current system of bringing those feeders in, dropping in, moving.
One thing you've raised there is the whole thing of definition, which is actually very poor. It's done almost internationally. The busway has no definition. A direct service has actually no definition. So someone else could go and get a different definition. So, because one of the things that was discussed with direct services, as was presented in 2012, was that a direct service, say, from Torbay, which went through down to Takapuna and then went on to the motorway, was a direct service. But I'm referring to direct service busway. If it doesn't go on the busway, I'm not referring to that. So there were some very inefficient services there which almost went crisscrossing. So that resource, I'm not counting that as part of the busway resource. I mean, the busway one which I caught, the 881, it had strong resistance to increasing numbers, but it was promoted and increased. But it went to 78 per day. Under the new network, it went to 254 per day, and use went up. But why wasn't it not 254 per day in the earlier model? I mean, it's where that resource, it is that whole thing of where the resource went, of what was your total time.
Okay, and just the last question, I understand if no one's stopping at this, they're express once they get on, they can't stop at those stops, but do you maybe understand the other issues with the city centre spaces, and also the fact using a smaller bus going back and forward very quickly increases that frequency instead of having lots of buses coming down through? Because you'd have to provide way more buses to constantly be doing the route instead of do you understand the other issues that are not just about the busway?
Well, the bus that I was talking about was carried 115 buses, so it carried more people than what you are referring to now.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about that, and one of the very natures of having, you want to run your city centre also as direct service. The 881 bus used to carry 115 people past Britomart. Some people would say, oh, it'd be good to stop at Britomart. That would have required bus space in town. Instead, they all went to university and the hospital. So you're actually applying that concept, although it's not so blatantly obvious, because that's what the network wouldn't work if it didn't have Auckland University and Britomart at the current stage. But that, as far as I'm concerned, I pushed for that. There was a promotion, there was strong resistance towards that from government. Yeah.
Okay.
Just to, if I may, to clarify on responding to that question, this is Ross speaking. Can you?
Oh yeah.
Is my voice coming through?
Yep, you can hear you.
Yes. Just to help us clarify on that question, yes, these are issues that have been considered. Not everything has been considered, like the stops in the city is definitely an issue that needs to be addressed. But if you're developing that system, and if Auckland Transport is properly addressing the system with the correct figures, then that would be something that would be factored in. And as Garth has discovered previously, those things haven't been considered with all the current up-to-date models and figures attached. So if that does become a barrier, then it needs to be addressed as a barrier within the new standards and models that we're discussing. Does that help clarify that?
Thank you. Okay, Mayor Brown.
Interesting presentation, thank you, Garth and Ross. I just, find it hard to disagree with some of that up on the screen there, but what is your background? You're just a member of the public as far as...
Yeah, I'm here as a member of the public. My background is as a medical doctor, trained in public health but didn't complete the health, and about 20 years as an analyst in the hospitals. So I'm quite familiar with using data.
So you and your brother are sort of interested citizens, is that what I...
Yeah, well, what it was is when I caught the 881 bus, I promoted for more of them, and that was, okay, done that. But what it was is I could see at Constellation that the limiting step for the busway would be that there were too many people getting on there. So why not build them in Browns Bay so they can come through and the bus can travel straight through? I mean, ultimately at this stage, my idea was the Northern Busway should stop a second harbour crossing of any sort. That solves billions and it's worthwhile doing. So how are you going to do it? And one of the things is that a high functioning busway is limited at those busway stations. It's a numerical, you can't physically get enough people on the bus fast enough. So you want them to get on before they arrive. So the ultimate model where the bus would come from Browns Bay and be fully full when it hit Constellation and never be involved in the system at all and travel to University or Britomart.
I get what you're trying to do. Thank you for bothering. I'm just trying to get a background of what's driven this public interest of yours, but good on you for that, and thank you for your response.
Thank you. And look, we're a bit over time. So, the Auckland Transport hierarchy are here. They have heard your presentation. They have heard the comments from one of their board members, and so that'll be noted. So we will move on to someone like to move to thank. Thank you, Chris. Seconded by Richard. All those in favour say aye, and against, carried. Thank you, Garth. Thank you, Ross, for beaming in online.
Thank you.
Okay, next up we have the Extinction Rebellion Tamaki Makaurau. So, ladies, welcome. You know how it operates. You've been here before, so should be all.
And I think it's still on. Yes, that's working. Yeah. And for the Mayor's interest, we are ordinary citizens. There are a lot of us. We're just a small representation of our group. But we have deep concern about what's happening with the climate, which is why we come here over and over, because you are in a privileged position to be able to make good decisions. And I must admit, with the previous presentation, I have some concern. Some years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, we presented to AT and we presented here about the concern with AT having in their senior management people who had made their careers on town planning for the private motor car. And anecdotally, we had evidence of new town planners coming through and not staying because they were blocked by the old school. And they were coming through with, town planning that would allow for people and climate and good for the planet. So it's concerning that it seems like that is still continuing. So our purpose is really, and hang on, which one do I press? Press that, I think. Yeah. Yeah. So what we're concerned about is absolutely intriguing when we go into some of the council documents. You've created an absolutely marvellous goal of halving emissions, the 2016 emissions. We could argue that that's a pretty low standard, but we've got this, halving it by 2030, zero by 2040. Yay! But who knows this? We as climate activists had to go hunting. We don't go, wow, yes, the council is on board with this. So we're urging that you need to do something a little bit more. And we're urging a public campaign, and we have, is that one? Yes, we actually have an excellent example from Watercare, having done such a thing over summer to get the whole city going, whoa, we better go a bit careful on our water, and we did it. It was a mix of weather. We would just get enough, a little bit of rain just in time. When we were going through yet another very dry summer, why are we going through a very dry summer and then very wet winter? We are not really getting the information as to how it links to climate change, even though that information is out there. So what we know is that this is really necessary. We know if you say, oh, wow, it's costly. Sorry, it's too costly not to do something. You know the cost of the anniversary floods and the cost of Gabriel. You know that the insurance business, the insurance sector is going, hey, there's buildings, houses, land that is going to be uninsurable soon. So you know that the cost is not the issue. You also know, because we've brought this to you before on more than one occasion, that the public is on board with this. We have 80% from now 3 big surveys, bits of research to say 80% of the people are deeply concerned over the climate crisis. 3.5% only are the climate deniers. That's an Auckland University bit of research. So your voting base is concerned about the climate. So we think you could be a bit bolder. Yeah? We think you could say, actually, okay, let's go for the easy one, which is transport. Well, we've just had a wonderful presentation about getting more people onto public transport, which we hadn't thought about that. But never did I hear the word, this is necessary to get the emissions down. Are we doing it only for congestion? We need to be saying, people, think about your private transport, because otherwise, things are not going to be good. We've got a lot of council stuff that is encouraging lifestyle with Take the Jump. That's not 5 minutes already. Oh, it is. Oh, okay. Oh, can I hurry up for 2 minutes? Thank you. So, so we're getting lots of people buying in. We do well in some places, you know this, I don't need to go over it. But I'm concerned about the Ports of Auckland. I've just heard recently that they are going away from their EV stuff. Thank you. So what we're asking is a public campaign. Tell the public loud and clear, we've got to get the emissions down, we've got a target. Can we all get on board with happening? Can we get repeatedly out there to say, this is where we're going, this is what we're doing, we're not doing quite good enough, what can you do a bit more? So I'm going to jump. Yeah, tracking progress is important. We've got old information. Thank goodness for some good people in the media. Simon, thank you. 2020, you may remember it. So we get good information, but council also needs to be doing it. So just a reminder, because I'm running out of time, we need a public campaign. We're urging for a public campaign to get Aucklanders excited. A couple of other things there that you can look at. Congestion charges, free public transport, citywide bus lanes, look at the direct stuff, citywide cycle network. Just for starters, because transport is the big one at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you. So questions, Desley?
Yeah, thank you very much, and thanks for calling out Watercare on their, I think it was called Easy Does It or Save Water or something over the summer. They, as a result of that, Aucklanders saved in excess of 900 million litres, more than they did the summer before. Yeah. But one of the reasons Aucklanders are very good at saving water is because they're charged for it, all right? Out of free public transport would be great for the user, but it would be a charge for council. I'm just interested in the priorities for you in the transport space out of those options up there. I mean, my question initially before you got to that last slide was, do you support a congestion charging system or a road user charges system for all road users? I mean, what is your number one priority? If we had one takeout of what you'd want us to do in the transport space, what would it be?
So what we have to do, first of all, is make sure that the emissions are right up there. So one of the things that would do if we had that public campaign going is that SUVs would become popularly unpopular. It would be, going to your neighbour, going to your friends. You're really getting an SUV. Do you realise what that's doing? So there's if we have the emissions right there, and then people going, I'm going to get public transport because it's keeping the emissions down. And we've got the slowly transitioning public transport to EV, which is great. Another person will be saying, I'm going to get an EV because I need to, because I'm doing my bit to get the emissions down. I think congestion charges is part of it. The road user charges on the motorways that we've talked about is part of it. Town planning is part of it. I love the fact that the mayor found that Mount Eden train station had inadequate parking. And so, you know, all of this is part of it. I don't think we can look at one only.
Thank you. John?
Hi, so thanks for your presentation. And just picking up again on the free public transport and during peak hours, some other countries like Vienna have not exactly free, but they have a very cheap yearly pass, like €365 pass, which does all forms of public transport, and they've got multiple. Do you have any views on that, or have you done any research into, because obviously in those instances they're mobbed, so what you might lose, you make up in patronage because everything's so busy. Yeah. Have you any thoughts on some of those really successful countries overseas that have markedly cheaper prices but have way higher patronage, which balances things out?
We don't go into depth in everything because we have a very broad approach, yeah, and so we can't go into that sort of depth. I'm intrigued. Absolutely fantastic. I've been looking at what's happened, for example, in Copenhagen, which has got rid of cars completely in the city centre, and made it really people friendly. And a comment is good for business because it's people walking that go into shops when they get upset about can't park outside. Yeah. Absolutely. I think that would be great. Yeah, I look at $50 a week, and I think, whoa, that's really expensive. But there could be other people who find it really, really good. Yeah, all these things are worth exploring.
Thank you. Shane?
Thank you. Just on the public transport costs, just signalling I'd like to have a bit of a chat offline about it because I've done some research into this and yeah, found some really good findings. So I'd like to have a yarn. Maybe if you could get in touch with me, we'll sort of arrange a chat. I did have a question about something else, which was town planning. So would you advocate for more homes to be allowed closer to jobs, public transport routes, and to study opportunities?
Absolutely. In the long-term plan some years ago, and I haven't kept up with it, I'm sorry, but we had like transport hubs with medium-rise, high-rise. I live on Sandringham Road, and it was going to be, I think, 4 stories, 6 stories, all the way down. And we think, when you look at the people living on the street, we've bloody well got to do something like that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's it. Thank you. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions? Richard?
Got a chair, just since you asked. Thanks again for the advocacy. And look, there's many of us around the table who care and understand about the emissions. Do you think there's a bit of a secret, though, to potentially for others, because I think those who really understand and care about emissions are probably doing as much as they can. Do you think there's a bit of more of a secret for us to make public transport, walking and cycling better anyway for a bunch of other reasons? So speed, affordability, air quality, safety, and then is it about us kind of hiding the emissions as the most important thing, even though it may be to you? So is it trying to tell the full story of the co-benefits to the people who want those other things?
Yeah, and start putting, like when I talk to Bike Auckland, they go, oh yeah, we know about the emissions, and that's really good. Yeah, let's get the emissions up there. I think if they felt like council was behind it about the emissions, they might be louder about the emissions. Yeah, that's just one example, yeah. And the free public transport, they're doing it for cost of living. But that's 350. 350 are really strong about emissions, yeah. We're actually working with them with protesting about coal mining at the moment. And, you know, so if you were stronger about emissions, they'll come on board very quickly. Yeah.
It's about starting a trend. So if you help starting the trend and say, yes, we have to get rid of the emissions, it's becoming like a wave. And people say, oh, a lot of people are following the trend, then it's best we do that too.
Okay, thank you. No further questions. So someone like to move a vote of thanks? Thank you, Shane. Seconded, Richard. Those in favour say aye. And against? Thank you. Thank you, ladies, and your supporters. Lovely to have you back.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask you a quick question about your rulings? You said to us that 3 people had applied and you declined one because they were already presented before. Yet Extinction Rebellion have presented here on a regular case, this is, as by their own admission, multiple occasions. Why is it one got excluded because they presented before, but this one that keeps coming is allowed to keep coming?
I can answer because it's a question to me. So the topic on which they presented today is not what they have presented on previously. And I know the staff have looked at that and it goes through a filter, and you know that I am reasonably tight on this. The standing orders, it's not about the group or the people, it's about the subject upon which they wish to speak.
They presented on the very same stuff last time.
Yeah, so similar but not the same. And
you change the word and you'll be okay.
Yeah, my decision, and so this time they were allowed through. I do run a reasonably tight filter, Morris. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is local board input. We have none. We have no extraordinary business, and so matter first up on the agenda proper is the